computer, and here we go. All right. Um, so nice to see you. You know, we had such a rush time.
I know.
I could talk to you for hours, but we were so rushed in Washington, D.C.
I know.
It was sad. All right. So what drew you into military service, and why did you want to serve?
There was a family history of military service. My dad was in the service, and that was a pretty big deal because growing up in Hawaii and being there during the bombing of Pearl Harbor and having been, you know, rejected as a true American, being Japanese American at the time, and still joining the military shortly, you know, after was kind of a bold thing to do. But that kind of patriotism was really important to him. And he was very much, even after he got out of the service, get up every day, put your boots on, go to work at Quaker Oats. You know, every day, come home, put your lunchbox away, and it was like rinse and repeat. He kind of had this routine, and it was unshakable. And there was something comforting about that. And that, you know, at times, being the sole wage owner for, you know, 5 kids and a wife, he worked 3 jobs at a time. And so that example of, you know, dedication for a purpose, you know, serving the family, you know, being a patriot, you know, had probably more of an influence than I probably knew when I joined at 18. But that was definitely part of it. And then, you know, it was also a golden ticket for me. This was about getting the GI Bill, having an opportunity to go to college. And that was never going to exist for me. There was no money. There was no advice on how do you take the ACTs or the SAT, and how do you prepare your high school education for, you know, we were just kind of living. And there wasn't, even though my parents cared about education, the emphasis to prepare yourself for college wasn't there. A lot of kids in my neighborhood didn't go to college. So to me, it was like, you know, take off, see the world, do a new thing, get out of my town, and then get this chance to actually get to college, which I did believe was going to be the thing that kind of set my future.
Great. Miyoko, what would be the headlines of your story?
I haven't thought about anything like that, but you know, I think I'm kind of the girl who never quit. I've definitely always been the underdog. I think I'm a bit of a surprise. So, you know, to people that somebody like me can do stuff that I've done. So there's definitely, you know, some sort of element of either mystery or surprise. I don't know what that would be like in a headline. Headlines are hard to write.
Okay, that's good. I like that. That's exactly right. When I think of you standing next to that tire of that giant truck. I said, that is Miyoko. What are the main challenges for a woman in the military?
You know, the obvious challenges for me when I first got in were being accepted. Part of the military and the draw is being a part of a team, being a part of something bigger, and you're forced to live together, work together, and you're completely dependent. So, you know, a woman not being accepted into that group, but being dependent on it is a very precarious place to be. So I definitely think initially it's being accepted. It's being treated, you know, fairly, equally, and not being asked to prove themselves time and time again. And I just read a story from a gal who works in the VA, and I work at VA now. And so she had the exact same theme. You know, you prove yourself over and over and over again, because as a woman, you just never reach the point where they're like, you're in. So there was definitely that, but I think the bigger challenge is for a woman is figuring out your own identity and who you are. You know, for a guy, I think the military can be, you know, it's like the stepping stone to manhood. And all the rules are written, and the whole thing is designed around what being a man is supposed to be. And that doesn't fit what being a woman is supposed to be necessarily. And And so just kind of having the confidence that maybe, you know, maybe figuring this thing out and being successful doesn't have anything to do with being one of the guys. It has to do with being the best woman, soldier, you know, that I could be among men. And that's a different thing than trying to take on that role, because I do think the uniform and the environment does all that. It does, in good ways, it strips away a lot of identity in order to just be soldier. But in bad ways, it leaves you with, now what is this person in this uniform doing this thing? And, you know, for a guy, that can be a shell of an identity. And that, this might be unfair to say, I don't know from a man's perspective what it is, but that might be enough. But I think for a woman, it's not quite the same. It's because it's not complete.
That is fabulous. That's a great answer. You are so articulate. Did you write that down? So what is it like to be in a career field with mostly men?
I think it did challenge me to be my best. You know, I don't know that I think at times I thought I had peers or comrades or battle buddies. Sometimes I still think I do, but there's a part of that experience I'm always going to question. Like, was it, you know, were we really friends? Like, were they really there for me? Or, you know, did they just want to date me, or they were just stuck with me on their team or whatever? The same assurance isn't always there, because there's so much outward aggression and prejudice and inequality that it's hard to find in the fairer behaviors, the better, you know, moments, how much of that is real. And I think there's a little bit of sadness in that. I think it's kind of a mixed experience to be in a place where you just don't always know. So, you know, there were parts of it that made me work hard physically, but easily 2 or 3 times as hard mentally.
Excellent. Do you think there's a veteran advantage once you leave the military?
An advantage of being a civilian who's been in the military? You know, now probably, but it depends. I think when I was in early on, you know, being a veteran wasn't met with, you know, the kinds of yellow ribbons and flags that it is now. That's new. That's pretty new. It wasn't recognized the same. We didn't call veterans warriors. We didn't call them heroes. They were just like people who'd been in the military. And it was sort of a mysterious thing for the civilian population. And I think popular culture through some music, a lot of movies, some TV shows has brought a military type experience into people's living rooms in a way that they have identified that with kind of the ultimate patriot. And that can have an advantage because it gives people the opportunity to have a stage for things that they would not otherwise have a stage for, because it's like an automatic credential. Oh, I'm a veteran. And that means something to people. But at the same time, it depends on what you're going into afterward, because there are going to be a lot of people who assume that title also means mentally unstable, aggressive. People use the word like militant, which isn't a compliment, you know, like OCD or, you know, too detail oriented in a way that's harmful to the team. And I don't know that people use that word as a way to be like, oh, I'm sure you're flexible and creative and you have a good imagination for problem solving. Like, that's not what people think in general. So it has for me at times. Not always, especially if it's not recognized, because there's always going to be that difference between what someone thinks a veteran is who's a male and what someone believes a female veteran could be. And I don't know that people think that's an equivalent experience.
Good point. That's one of the reasons why we're doing this project.
Mm-hmm.
What have you learned in the military that you think has served you best in your professional and personal life? What'd you take with you?
Uh, the Army values: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage. It was something we wore on, you could get like this extra dog tag and it had the Army values on it. And so you'd have your two names and the values around your neck. And I took that to heart. And I think in applying that to what I was doing as like the standard, this is the standard of behavior. This is the standard of, for anybody who wants to be best of the best. And I think about that now, and I still have that dog tag because it is a very easy reference point for me to say, is what I'm doing right now in anything, parenting, civilian work, anything, does it align with these values? Because I can agree that these values are all important and I should be making my decisions that align with this. And if they don't, then I need to really think about this. So it is a way for me to kind of screen what I'm doing and come to better decisions, I think. And I think that came probably from that experience, from doing risk assessments in the military of, how much harm could be done, how much could be won and at what cost. And those questions I still ask myself.
So sort of like an adopted personal code.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What's the best thing about being a military service member?
The best thing, there were things that I had the opportunity to do that their experiences that just aren't found anywhere else. Whether it's like throwing hand grenades or, being deployed to Iraq, it is an experience that you can't recreate it. You can't buy it. You can't fake it. You had the chance to do it and you were there, you didn't. And along with those experiences that were really difficult, I can think of, a handful of really, intimate type friendship moments with people I was deployed with that I would say, outside, the answer to the earlier question was like real human interaction, real connection. When, I'm sitting at a gate ready to go out on a night mission in the city of Ramadi, and there's one cold Fanta soda left in a cooler with a little bit of ice. And nobody thinks to like pour half of it in like a cup somewhere. You just have a drink and you pass it to the other guy and he has a drink and he passes it back. And in the absolute silence of sharing one good thing, knowing that you're about to enter a really shitty moment, felt like, not everybody has, these are little things I still remember. So, a chance to be a real human being connected to somebody else in a way like that. Some of those things were really, they made lifelong impressions on me. Another one, so I don't know why that would be the best, but it is to me, I think, because connection is what we're all trying to get, I think, as human beings. Watching the first sergeant go down the line and talk to every soldier before a mission and have him put his hand on their shoulder. And, and he did that for a reason. He wanted to talk to each person individually, but he wanted to just be like, I'm there with you. Somebody ain't coming home tonight. And to see that, see the shadows of these things happen before big moments, I could see people really rise to the occasion of valuing life that much, that they would take the time to do these things. So in a way, the whole soldier experience can be, breaking things and killing people. But there were a lot of leaders who executed that in a way that was really as compassionate as it could be in the circumstances that they were in. And so moments like that are a privilege to be witness to, be part of.
As you describe it, it's a certain intensity of living that I guess you could only experience in a situation like that.
Mhm.
What do you want your legacy to young women following in your footsteps to be?
Hmm. Well, I have the pleasure to be on a service academy committee uh, for one of the members of Congress here in my state. And what I have noticed is that a lot of young women are applying to service academies. And that would not have been the case. All of the platoon leaders that I had when I first got in, they were all men. They'd all gone to West Point. Uh, but now, women with really diverse backgrounds who were prepared for the moment by some pretty challenging moments, and some of those is just being, lettering in 4 or 5 different sports and having that, level of competition.
Uh-oh. Hello?
Sorry.
What
That's okay.
happened?
I have
Well,
no idea. It just like cut out and came back.
yeah, I'm glad you came back. Okay. Pick that
So
up. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that's it, is being able to see women even consider this as a career, believe it's open to them, and then going after it. I mean, that's incredible to me. And for my daughters too, I think about that. They will consider doing things in their lifetime as possibilities because of the role models that they've seen that I would have never had. And that's, I think as a parent, where everybody's trying to get to is the next generation, having that, an expanded view of the possibilities. That's a part of what the American Dream is all about.
Beautiful. Let me stop the recording.
Yeah.
Did a great job.